The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Present. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Vollmer. Present. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Keys.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus. 10 present, you have quorum.
A quorum being present, we will be led in opening reflection prayer by poet, master educator, community arts organizer, and culture keeper, Dr. Treasure Shields Redmond. If you could please come up.
Good to see you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Treasure Shields Redmond, dual citizen of Meridian, Mississippi, and East St. Louis, Illinois. I bring you greetings from your smaller twin on the east side of the river. The region grows from our association. And today I'm going to be talking about an ancestor whose name was Dred Scott. There's almost no one in here who hasn't heard that name. Our beautiful courthouse here in the city was where he petitioned for his freedom. And this poem was one I read at the dedication of his new headstone. And it's called Who is Sam Blow? Because after researching, I found out that he had a different name while he was enslaved in Alabama. And I found out about the fact that he had lost a whole family to a disease. And when he came here and found his incredible new wife, Harriet Scott, and had his beautiful daughters, that was a rebirth for him and encouraged him to petition for what he already was. Who is Sam Blow? 1. I knowed I could marry Etheldred when he told me his first name. Sam Blow, like boiled lavender. Sam Blow, like the top of a newborn's head. Sam Blow, like cold, fresh well water. The good ghost my husband kept to himself. 2. That first evening, Sam Blow took off my husband, set him down like a good coat, whispered his first name, showed me his first self. We had a lifetime of age difference between us, but Sam Blow was young like me, with a back made of Alabama pine. The holy haint my husband kept to himself. 3. Who is Sam Blow? He the man who wears my husband. He the man who come out at night. He the man who took his brother's name after he died. He the man who lost a wife and 2 children in Alabama. He the hurt man who wear Dred Scott like a bandage. The sweet spirit my husband kept to himself. 4. I rub pine salve under Dred's shoulder blades. He say, I left a whole family buried in Huntsville. Didn't bring nothing with me but this cough. At night, Sam Blow reminds Dred that he brought him to St. Louis too. Sam Blow is the first promise Dred ever kept to himself. He say, I'll never die a slave. He say, I won't raise no slaves. He say, I'll buy our freedom. He say, I was shown that the Lord would restore what the locusts have eaten. 5. When I stood up to marry Dred on free land in a free state, I was a free woman. When I pushed out our first daughter on the Mississippi, I was in water that can't be owned. I was a free woman, birthing a free child. I broke free water and Dred caught our daughter in free hands. That baby was a prophecy fulfilled, charcoal black and looking like her pap. Sad but happy, hungry but satisfied, black and free. 6. We talked about running. The widow would not take money for us. She meant to make our babies her pension. She meant to put liens on our work. She meant to rent us till she forgot her name. She meant for us to be listed in her will. Sam Blow came to me in dreams, dressed like an African magistrate, speaking like the book of Judges, telling Dred to sue for what he already was. I gave birth on the river. The courthouse is on the river. Sam Blow came up on the river. It's got to be a sign. 7. The number 11 looks like bars. It's how long me and Dred were denied. The number 11 looked like Mississippi river banks. That's how wide our story spread. Dred put his ear to my heart when he heard we was finally free. The Lord gave back his family. The Lord gave him a bosom of rest. He say, Sam Blow, rest easy now. He say, Sam Blow in the bosom of Abraham now. Dred Scott say, I got free, Harriet, and I believe I'll stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those lovely, lovely words this morning. That we will move to the special order of the day. Aldermen from the 14th, you are recognized on resolution number 166 if you would like to approach the dais.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam Clerk, can you read some of the resolution?
Resolution 166, celebrating Sunday Whiteside. Whereas Sunday Whiteside was a lifelong resident of Walnut Park East neighborhood and committed her life to improving St. Louis through her career and volunteer work. Whereas Sunday Whiteside was a catalyst for the past 8 years for bringing the Center for Community Progress Reclaiming Vacant Properties Conference to St. Louis to be held October 9th through the 11th, 2024, bringing an estimate to 1,000 attendees from across the country and providing the opportunity for St. Louis revitalization efforts to shine. Whereas Whiteside worked as an equipment engineer for MEMC Electronic Materials, Inc., as a project and information systems engineer for JJO Control Systems, as a site and technology coordinator for the Community Action Agency of City of St. Louis and County. Whereas Whiteside was involved with esteemed organizations such as National Society of Black Engineers, Girl Scout Council of Greater St. Louis, Board of Technology Committee, National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Top Ladies of Distinction, Inc., and was a member of Alpha Omega chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Whereas she received awards from the City of St. Louis in 2008 for outstanding service and unyielding commitment to the Tax Increment Financing Commission, and in 2016 from the Neighborhood Stabilization Team for honorable commitment to the community service. Whereas she co-founded the St. Louis Vacancy Collaborative, a coalition dedicated to reducing the number of vacant properties and the negative impact of vacant properties within the City of St. Louis. Whereas she served as board president of St. Louis Association of Community Organization, which works to build capacity of neighborhood residents to unite, mobilize, and organize. And whereas through SLACO, she created the Keeping It Clean initiative, a neighborhood beautification campaign and youth employment project that not only enhanced the aesthetic appeal of our neighborhoods, but also provided valuable opportunities for youth to develop essential skills and work ethics. Whereas she founded the Equitable Development Strategies and was the priority of the Home Ownership for All, initiatives aimed at empowering individuals and fostering economic growth in our city. Whereas she was recognized by the American Planning Association, St. Louis Metro Section, which awarded her the 2019 Community Planning Champion Award. Whereas in 2021, she won the Community Builders Network of Metro St. Louis Award for Resident Leadership, as well as Missouri Realtors Good Neighbor Award, which recognizes a Missouri realtor who is dedicated to volunteer service. Whereas Whiteside believed that a good neighbor is concerned about the welfare of all neighbors. The baseline of human existence is care, the concern, and commonality. Now therefore let it be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that the St. Louis Board of Aldermen recognize and honor the hard work and dedication of Sandy Whiteside throughout her career. Introduced this 8th day of December 2023 by the Honorable Rasheen Aldridge, Alderman of the 14th Ward, and the Honorable Megan Green, President of the Board of Aldermen.
At this moment, I would ask all friends and family if they would come up and join me and the President of the Board at the moment. Okay, I was like, it's not moving. Uh, uh, I think for many of us in the St. Louis area is saddened to hear about a great that recently left us this week. The goal was to get this resolution ready last week, and then we decided that we was going to do it this weekend, hoping that Miss Sunday family could have been here to join us. We lost her this earlier in the week. For the ones that know Miss Sunday, we knew she was always, she had a heart of gold. She always had a smile on her face. She always was there for people, no matter what the occasion was or where you needed her to be. She was one of those people we call a field soldier. She showed up for plenty of cleanups, plenty of events. She was just a woman of gold, and I remember several times getting to spend time with Miss Sunday when my mother had ran for office, and she came out and she knocked doors several times, not just once, but many. Miss Sunday was somebody that wasn't just a gem to this city of St. Louis, but a true legend, a legend that now her spirit lives on, and it's all in us to make sure that we continue to do the work that Miss Sunday laid out, and to be kind and to be sweet, and to remember to always do the work for the community and put your egos aside. I'm sad to hear that she is gone, especially the way that everything happened so suddenly as well. But I know she would want us to be happy. She would want us to continue to uplift St. Louis and continue to do the work in communities, in the neighborhoods, to ensure that our city can be great. And I'm going to leave it at that at this moment, because I'm not going to get too emotional. And before I pass it over to Miss Angela, who will be receiving the proclamation or a resolution on behalf of Miss Sunday family, I will stop and let some of my colleagues speak. I think this resolution spoke very highly of who she was. Sometimes I say it's better to say less words, and I'm just it's honored that I've been able to have the opportunity to spend with Miss Sunday.
We go to the family, and then I'll call up older people. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Alderman Rasheen for the honor of being able to receive this resolution, and the entire Board of Aldermen. I would like to thank Board President Megan Green for this resolution also. And Sunday was my good friend. She was a person, if you've ever heard the term, you're good Judy. And that's your good girlfriend who you kick your shoes off with, and have a cup of coffee and laughs. And she was so much to everyone. She loved the city, she loved the neighborhoods. So I truly thank you all for honoring her and just recognizing the love and passion that she had for the city and everything that she wanted to do and things that she wanted to see be better in our city. So once again, I just thank you and I appreciate this from her family. Sunday was a mom, she was a grandmother, and just thank you everyone for all you've done and the recognition you've given her.
Did anybody else, friends or family, want to say that?
Sure. I think you can tell by the tears that are up here today. Sunday left a really big impact on all of us, on city government, on community. I mean, I remember the first time I met her was shortly after I got elected to office, and she was there making sure this newbie to office understood issues of vacancy. And so I know she's had so many conversations with so many of us here over the years, and it's leaving a really big void in this community. But her legacy will live on through the Vacancy Collaborative and SLACO and all of the places that she has touched and worked to build over the years. I know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people who she has touched. And with that, I'm going to first call on Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman from the 10th Ward.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I echo many of the sentiments. I want to share also, Angela. Listen, sis, when you said she's a good Judy and she would kick those shoes off to laugh, well, we can also say she would kick those shoes off to fight. She was a fighter for our community. And I think what we have now is the responsibility to continue that fight again, to uplift for the betterment of all of us here in all of our communities here, and not just the city of St. Louis, but the region. And with that, I would absolutely like to ask if we could pass this resolution, move this resolution and bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we make Resolution 166 in bank. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 10th, you may proceed.
That was it. And to everyone up at the dais, please share all of our love, prayers, and condolences. And I'm sure that all of us, every one of us would say anything we can do to help support you here from our positions to continue to work, continue her legacy. Know that we're a phone call away.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I met Miss Sunday in a different way than a lot of my colleagues. I met Miss Sunday as a 17-year-old who was going to have her first job interview and was so nervous. And she wasn't even the one interviewing me, but she was in the office at People's Community Action Corporation. And I remember being so nervous, and she pulled me to the side and was like, "Girl, you got this, don't be worried." And then when I got to college and was doing a lot of activism, and when everything first, now people say Black Lives Matter with such ease, but when everything first happened, I got a little pressure. And I went to her and was just kind of expressing I'm concerned that maybe I will lose my job at that time. And I was at that point in college. And so I really needed my job and didn't want to look for another position. And Miss Sunday brought me into her office and put me under her and promised me, you can continue to activate your community and organize and continue to do what you need to do. And she worked with with me all throughout college and gave me a flexible schedule and worked with my hours and came to my defense whenever it was necessary. And I mean, even down to like sometimes at lunchtime, if I didn't have lunch money, she would buy lunch, not just for me, but for all of like the interns that we had in the office. And I think she really, I don't know if I really have the words because she just was just so genuine and so kind and really like invested in people and invested in community. And it wasn't about like cameras or credit, she was just always there. And even down to right before when I was seriously thinking about running for the Board of Education, I was really close to not doing it. And I had a conversation with Miss Sunday, and I remember Miss Sunday telling me that if you let other people lead your community, when they are done, it won't be your community anymore. And you need to, really think about that and encourage me to run. So I just want to make sure that I just say on the record how thankful I am for her. And hopefully that can serve as a reminder because I think there's a number of ways to keep people's legacies alive. But what I saw Miss Sunday do time and time again was invest in people, invest in communities, see the bright side, and really teach people about things and new concepts. I mean, I could go to her at any moment and feel overwhelmed, but whether it was about vacancy, even honestly, since I've been in this role, there's a lot of things where when you become alder, you have to learn about vacancies and how to go about this and how to go about that. And we've just always had a number of conversations and a number of information, and it was just in the genuine sentiment to help and build community. So I hope her family can feel, I just want to let you all know how much of an impact she really had on me and how much I support that and I'm grateful for that. And my heart is certainly with her daughter, who I know was the absolute love of her life and grandchildren. And just hopefully this can be a note for all of us because you never know how long you have with someone. I really regret. I wish I would have called her. You never know when someone has passed, but I actually owe her a call back. So I just want to make sure that I express the impact that she had on us, and I hope the way that we can carry her legacy forward is by investing in community and doing the work, but also just by investing in each other and being kind to each other and believing in folks. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Madam President. It's really hard to go after those words from the Alderwoman from the 7th, but I'll just add that I think it was impossible to do any work and vacancy in the city of St. Louis without knowing not only the name Sunday Whiteside, but knowing the person. She was always not only lending her voice, but was always there. And I found her to be just an exemplary citizen, somebody who really embodies public service. She wasn't paid for the work she did in vacancy and the advocacy work she did for the communities that she was a part of. And she's just lives on as an exemplary citizen, somebody that us as public servants should look up to, and I certainly do. So thank you for the opportunity to say a few words, Your Honor.
Any further discussion? That I will entertain a motion to adopt the courtesy resolution calendar. It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 6th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much. I know all of us are breaking, our hearts are breaking. We hope that we had a little bit longer with her than we had, but her legacy lives on, and there will not be a single conversation that we have down here about vacancy, about building communities and building neighborhoods where Sunday and her voice and her legacy is not a part of those conversations. So thank you, and I know this board looks forward to working with everybody that is standing up here today to continue her legacy going forward. Thanks. Either way. Introduction of honored guests. Are there any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to have several people as my honored guests today. First, I got to start with my family, my ride or dies, SEIU. Thank you for being here today and all the work that you guys do. I also want to introduce Mr. Peter Hoffman, who is leaving at the moment. He's amazing. He's been a huge help in the community with some legislation that myself and Alderwoman Keith are working on, as well as I want to introduce Mr. Kevin McKinney and his wife from SLACO and all the great work that they do, Ms. Angela, Ms. Tori Parks from the Vacancy Collaborative, and everybody in the room today is going to be my honor guest. So thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, December 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'd like to make we approve the minutes from December 1st, 2023.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the minutes from Friday, December 1st, 2023. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C if the agenda has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for the appointment to the Holly Hills Special Business District. The appointment of Jill Pace, who resides in the 1st Ward. I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 1st, you're recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Holly Hills Special Business District.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to accept the nomination of the Mayor of Jill Pace to the Holly Hills Special Business District.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointment to the Holly Hills Special Business District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for reappointment to the Soulard Special Business District. The reappointment of Luke Reynolds, who resides in the 8th Ward. I respectfully request your approval of this reappointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Woman from the 8th, you're recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Soulard Special Business District.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we approve the appointment of Luke Reynolds to the Soulard Special Business District.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointment to the Soulard Special Business District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off any of our informal calendar? Anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off any of our informal calendars? Seeing none, we will dispense with line items 9, 10, and 11. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 173, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate amending ordinance number 62885 to direct the reallocation of the unencumbered funds held in 28 sub-accounts of the Ward Capital Improvement Account of the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Trust Fund to 14 sub-accounts of such account that corresponds to the new 14 new wards, with the amounts allocated to the new sub-accounts determined by geographical overlap of the former wards with the new wards. Board Bill 174, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated November 1st, 2023 for the North Grand, Natural Bridge, North Florissant, Cass, Dr. Martin Luther King redevelopment area. Board Bill 175, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 66221, Section 8, ordinance number 66236, Section 5, ordinance number 66420, Section 6, ordinance number 66565, Section 4, and ordinance number 6664, Section 4, respectively, dissolving the Special Allocations Fund for Highlands at Forest Park, the Catalan Townhomes, Maryland Plaza South, Gaslight Square East, and I-55 Loughborough redevelopment areas, respectively, terminating the designation of certain portions of the City of St. Louis, Missouri as redevelopment areas and authorizing certain actions relating thereto. Board Bill 176, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, establishing an impact tenants fund to protect tenants in the city of St. Louis who are forced to relocate from their rental unit due to condemnation for occupancy due to the landlord's failure to maintain the rental unit in conformance with code requirements containing the severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 177, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, amending Section 23 of Ordinance 71393 as amended by Ordinance number 71503, and appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Section 990, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Act, authorizing certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 178, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Enforcement, repealing Section 13 of Ordinance number 71393 as amended by Ordinance number 71503, and appropriating a portion of the funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Section 9901, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Act, authorizing certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 179, sponsored by Alderwoman Velazquez, an ordinance enacting a curfew for the Risk Park, prohibiting individuals from idling, wandering, strolling, playing, or otherwise being in or upon the premises of the Risk Park throughout the year between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. from November 1st through March 31st, and between the hours of 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. the rest of the year, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 180, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 67914, 60202, and 70456, which established and amended the City Housing Conservation Program and acted in lieu thereof, an ordinance that sets forth the procedures, requirements, fees, regulations, inspections, issuance, and revocation of certificates of inspection for dwelling units, adding rental dwelling units registration, and containing an effective date and a severability clause. Board Bill 181, sponsored by Alderman Aldrich, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, amending Section 1 of Ordinance 71554, appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Section 9901, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Act, authorizing certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 182, sponsored by Alderman Aldrich, an ordinance granting specific individuals access to city correctional and detention facilities for oversight, transparency, and accountability, containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 183, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance determining that the tax increment financing plans listed in Exhibit A are making satisfactory progress, except as noted under the proposed time schedule for completion of projects therein. Board Bill 184, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act 2021, Section 9901, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Act, authorizing certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, and containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 185, sponsored by Alderman Aldrich, an ordinance setting forth regulations for the use of surveillance technology by the City of St. Louis, requiring surveillance technology usage and specific technologies to be approved by the Board of Aldermen after required public hearing before any such surveillance technology may be used and plans may be put into practice, containing a severability and emergency clause. That's the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to Committee of Board Bills.
To the Public Infrastructure Committee, Board Bill 173. To the HUS Committee, Board Bills 174, 175, 176, 177, 178, 180, 181, 183, and 184. To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 179, 182, and 185.
Second reading of board bills and report of standing committees.
The following Board bills were reported out of Transportation and Commerce with a due pass recommendation. An ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of the St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the Third Amendment to Cargo Facility Lease Agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and JetLink St. Louis, LLC, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1 and made a part hereof, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 163, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 71466, 71467, and 71405, which established liquor control district for the former 3rd, 18th, and 21st wards, which now overlap the current 11th ward, and establish a new district within the boundaries of the 11th Ward Liquor Control District, prohibiting the issuance of packaged liquor or drink licenses for any currently non-licensed premises, and the transfer of existing licenses within the boundaries of the 11th Ward for a period of 5 years, beginning from the effective date of this ordinance. The following board bills were reported out of HUD's committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 152, sponsored by Alderman Cone. A board bill recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the City of St. Louis through its Community Development Administration to enter into and execute an agreement to accept the Missouri ARPA Industrial Site Development Grant Program funds in the amount of $2.5 million, appropriating the grant funds, authorizing and directing the Director of CDA to contract as necessary to expend appropriate funds, directing the Comptroller to issue warrants thereon upon the City Treasury, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 162, sponsored by Alderwoman Sangay, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated September 29th, 2023 for 3101 through 3115 South Jefferson and 2614 through 2624 Arsenal Street area. The following board bills were reported out of Public Infrastructure Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 150, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in Atlantic Street from Teresa Avenue westerly to a point and the 15-foot wide east-west alley in City Block 2211 as hereinafter described, in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 14, Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 156, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderman Cone, Alderman Balmer, and Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in Incinerator Road from East Grand Avenue to its terminus located in City Block 2450 in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described, in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 14 of Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 165, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394 to calm the flow of traffic on the 3800 block of St. Ferdinand Avenue. Board Bill 168, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic at various locations in the 7th Ward. Board Bill 169, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps in the 5300 block of Claxton, 5900 block of Sherry, 5500 block of Era, 5900 block of Emma, and the 5400 block of Beacon Avenue pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394. Board Bill 172 as amended, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on the 5800 block of Minnesota Avenue. The following board bills were reported out of Health and Human Development with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 149, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment appropriating to the Department of Health funds received by the City of St. Louis pursuant to the Janssen Settlement Agreement and the Distributor Settlement Agreement, authorizing the expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to extend such funds to the extent received, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 166, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, appropriating the Department of Health an additional $769,668 in epidemiology and laboratory capacity, enhancing detection expansion grant funds from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, authorizing DOH to accept and to expend such funds to fulfill the obligations of said grant to the extent such funds are received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds containing an emergency clause. The following board bill was reported out of public safety with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 84, sponsored by Alderman Balmer, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Fire Commissioner on behalf of the City of St. Louis to enter into the 2021 Assistant to Firefighters Grant Agreement with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and to accept the grant funds, appropriating said funds and a required city match for said funds, and authorizing the Fire Commissioner to expend the appropriate funds by entering into contracts or otherwise for grant purposes and containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of second reading. Report of standing committees.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
Alderman from the 3rd, you are recognized on the suspension of rules for the purpose of moving board bills from second reading over to perfection consent.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving board bills 136, 163, 152, 162, 150, 156, 165, 168, 169, 172 as amended, 149, 166, and Board Bill 84 from the second reading calendar to the perfection calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the Alderman from the 4th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving the aforementioned board bills to the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Okay.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Tyus. 13 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 3rd to move the aforementioned board bills to the perfection consent calendar. Board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 155, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, and an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the mayor and the comptroller of the City of St. Louis to enter into and execute an agreement or agreements with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the receipt of community project funding, appropriating the sum of $5 million containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 83, committee sub-sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, President Green, Alderman Aldridge, and Alderwoman Sanye. An ordinance establishing requirements pertaining to the retention of employees performing janitorial, building maintenance, security services under contracts for such services with the City of St. Louis or a city agency, providing for certain exemptions, setting forth consequences for violations, establishing requirements in the event the city or city agency outsourced janitorial, building maintenance, and security services being performed by employees of the city or city agency, establishing policies in the event the city or city agency determines to have its employees perform janitorial, building, maintenance, and security services, contain a severability clause and an effective date clause. Board Bill 160, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance to regulate employer and employee working relationships between the City of St. Louis and all employees under classified service, including the compensation plan, terms and conditions of employment, benefits, leave of absence, and authorization for a deferred compensation plan, allocating certain other employees to a grade with rate, amending Section 2C and Section 2D of Ordinance 71686 and including an emergency clause. The provisions of the section contained in this ordinance shall be effective with the start of the first pay period following approval by the mayor. Board Bill 135, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Sangay, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Keys, and Alderman Aldridge. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the St. Louis Treasurer's Office to accept a city's addressing fines and fees equitably program grant up to an initial amount of $10,000 plus a subsequent anticipated award up to $35,000 for a project implementation containing an emergency clause. Give me just a second. Board Bill 136, sponsored by Alderman Cone. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the Third Amendment to the Cargo Facility Lease Agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri, and the Jet Links St. Louis LLC, which is attached hereto as Attachment 1 and made a part hereof, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 163, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 71466, 71467, and 71405, which established liquor control districts for the former 3rd, 18th, and 21st wards, which now overlap the current 11th ward, and establishing a new district with the boundaries of the 11th ward liquor control district, prohibiting the issuance of any packaged liquor or drink licenses for any currently non-licensed premises, and the transfer of existing licenses within the boundaries of the 11th ward for a period of 5 years, beginning at the effective date of this ordinance. Board Bill 152, sponsored by Alderman Cone. A board bill recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the City of St. Louis through its Community Development Administration to enter into and execute an agreement to accept the Missouri ARPA Industrial Site Development Grant Program funds in the amount of $2.5 million, appropriating the grant funds, authorizing and directing the Director of CDA to contract as necessary to expend appropriate funds, directing the Comptroller to issue warrants thereon upon the City Treasury and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 162, sponsored by Alderwoman Sangay, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated September 20, 2023 for the 3101 through 3115 South Jefferson and 2614 through 2624 Arsenal Street area. Board Bill 150, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in Atlantic Street from Teresa Avenue westerly to a point and a 15-foot wide east-west alley in City Block 2211 as hereinafter described in accordance with the Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 14 of Article 21 of the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 156, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderman Cone, Alderman Ballmer, and Alderwoman Keys. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in Incinerator Road from East Grand Avenue to its terminus located in City Block 2450 in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with the Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 140 of Article 21 of the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 165, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394 to calm the flow of traffic on the 3800 block of St. Ferdinand Avenue. Board Bill 168, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394, and ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic at various locations in the 7th Ward. Board Bill 169, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps in a 5300 block of Claxton Avenue, 5900 block of Sherry Avenue, 5500 block of Era Avenue, 5900 block of Emma Avenue, 5400 block of Beacon Avenue, pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394. Board Bill 172 as amended, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on a 5800 block of Minnesota Avenue. Board Bill 149, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment appropriating to the Department of Health funds received by the City of St. Louis pursuant to the Janssen Settlement Agreement and the Distributor Settlement Agreement, authorizing the expenditure of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 84, sponsored by Alderman Balmer. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the Fire Commissioner on behalf of the City of St. Louis to enter into the 2021 Assistance to Firefighter Grant Agreement with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and accept the grant funds appropriating said funds and a required city match for the said funds, authorizing the Fire Commissioner to expend the appropriate funds by entering into contracts or otherwise for grant purposes containing an emergency clause. Give me just a second. I'm sorry, President Green, was 166 included?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Board Bill 166, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment appropriating to the Department of Health an additional $769,668 in epidemiology and laboratory capacity enhancing detection expansion grant funds from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, authorizing DOH to accept and to expend such funds to fulfill the obligations of said grant to the extent such funds are received, authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such fund and containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of board bills for perfection consent calendar.
Alderwoman from the 10th, I saw you had your hand raised.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. May I please have my name added as a co-sponsor to Board Bill 83, Committee Sub, and Board Bill 84?
Madam Clerk, if you could please make note of that. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President. Please add my name to Board Bill 83 Committee Substitute. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderman from the 9th.
Please add my name as a co-sponsor to 83 Committee Substitute as well. Thank you.
Madam President.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderman for the 3rd.
I would like to make the motion that pass Board Bill, or
Make
Board Bill 83 Committee Substitute and bank.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we make Board Bill 83 Committee Substitute and bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt the perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 16B, report of engrossment.
Board Bills 130, Committee Sub, 137, 138, 145, 159, and 141 as amended.
Third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
Board Bills 130, Committee Sub, 137, 138, 145, and Board Bill 159.
Aldermen from the 14th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we third read and finally pass the board bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Aye. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Aye. Alderman Narayan. Aye. Alderman Balmer. Aye. Alderwoman Velazquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Aye. Alderman Browning. Aye. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Tyus. 13 aye votes.
By your vote, you've sustained the motion from the Alderman from the 14th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
Board Bill 141 as amended, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, President Green, and the following alderpersons: Keys, Browning, Clark Hubbard, Sanye, Boyd, Aldridge, Narayan, Velazquez, Oldenburg, and Cone. An ordinance pertaining to the creation and administration of a property tax credit for eligible senior taxpayers residing in the city of St. Louis.
Alderwoman from the 1st Ward, you are recognized on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 141 as amended.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move to third read and finally pass Board Bill 141 as amended.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill number 141 as amended. Alderwoman.
Thank you. We had a lengthy discussion on this bill during our last committee meeting. The goal of this bill is to issue a tax credit to eligible seniors in the city of St. Louis for the city's portion of their real estate property tax. This is an important bill to keep money in the pockets of our city's seniors, and I hope to earn the support of the board to third read and finally pass this bill today. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we third read and finally pass Board 41 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Ten aye.
Aye.
She said aye.
She said aye.
Yes.
11 aye votes and 1 abstain.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 1st to third read and finally pass Board Bill number 141 as amended. Reported the finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 130, Committee Sub, 137, 138, 145, 159, and 141 as amended.
All other business being suspended, the president shall affix her signature hereto to the end that these may become law.
I guess you're the only old person, Homer. I guess you're the old person on the board. Yeah. Thanks, Grandpa.
First reading of resolutions in reference to committee.
Resolution 164, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, 2024 through 2025 Assessment Maintenance Plan.
Alderwoman from the first, you're recognized on the first reading resolution 160.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for unanimous consent of Resolution 164.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt Resolution 4.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the first, seconded by the Alderwoman from the seventh, that we adopt resolution 4. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you. This is a resolution that is the 2024-2025 Assessment Maintenance Plan provided by the St. Louis City Assessor. As per state law, it does need to pass through the Board of Aldermen as well as the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, which it's already done. So everyone should have in their drive a hard copy here of that assessment maintenance plan if anyone's interested in reading it. I did read it. It is a little thick, but it basically goes over how the assessments work and what the assessor's office plans are for the 2024-2025 year to maintain assessments in the city of St. Louis. So I appreciate you all taking the time to hear this resolution, and I hope to earn your support for it today.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved. Oh, Alderman from the third.
Thank you, Madam President. Would the Alderwoman from the first yield to questions?
Sure.
The Alderwoman from the first yield to questioning.
Yes,
from the
I will.
Third.
Yes, thank you.
Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Alderwoman. I'm just curious, is there any intent to send this to committee for review and hearing?
I'd asked for unanimous consent to get it through today. So I don't know that I guess I could go back and send it to committee, but I had not intended to send it to committee.
I'm trying to find it on the drive.
Yeah, if you have questions, I'm sure the assessor would be happy to attend a committee meeting and answer questions about this if you feel that's important. Thankfully, we do have here until February 1st, 2024 to approve the plan or provide an alternative plan. So what should have been an attachment with the resolution and what we provided to the clerk for this.
Do you know which folder it's shared under?
Should be in the resolutions folder in the drive.
It's not. Okay. I did refresh my drive. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Thank you for the teamwork here. I appreciate it. It does make the dream work. I can see where you're going with the description of the resolution here, Alderwoman. Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the committee. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate just the detail and the depth in this. I want to definitely take some more look, but I just appreciate the information. And when I heard about this, I reached out, and you got to give it to him. He's very responsive. He runs a very responsive office. And also just talk about how I think it's really important that all public offices and public entities have a process for approval. I think it's important that, so even this process of going through us and taking this vote and making sure that our public is station and that, the people that they elected to represent them get input. I think every single city entity needs to make sure they have a process for things like this that involve, approval and checks and balances. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt resolution number 164. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution 167, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, consenting to leasee change of ownership.
Alderwoman from the 8th, you're recognized on the first reading of Resolution 167.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the adoption of Resolution 167 by unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This resolution was brought to me by the authority. Really, all that's happening here, SCF has several leases with the City of St. Louis for port properties, and their parent company, is Secor, is being purchased. And so there's going to be no financial or other term of the leases change, just that the ownership of the leases would change because the parent company is being purchased. So what we're doing, they're hoping to close sometime during the break. So if we could get this passed today, then this kind of allows just for them to be in compliance. If that doesn't happen and they do close on the sale, they'll be out of compliance. I don't think that's a huge concern, but it would be, I think, helpful for all parties if we would just adopt this change, which would just change the entity with whom the leases are arranged through the Port Authority.
Do you want to make a motion to adopt?
I would like to make a motion that we adopt 167. Yes, thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt resolution number 167. Is there any further discussion?
Madam President.
Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. So just reading the resolution, it doesn't appear, to your point, there's no change in the terms of the agreement. It's not extending the agreement. There's no, changes to the lease amount. It's simply just changing the names of the entities that are involved in the lease.
That's exactly right. That's my understanding. Thank you for the clarification.
Great. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Alderwoman.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt resolution 7. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's the extent of first reading of resolutions in reference to committee.
Second reading of resolutions, committee reports and adoptions.
Report from the Health and Human Development Committee. Appointment to the Senior Citizen Service Fund Board. Mary Willow Jones.
Alderwoman from the 11th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Senior Citizen Service Fund Board.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I would ask for favorable, I'm sorry, I'm missing the words here, but for the favorable approval of Mayor Willie Jones to the Senior Citizen Fund Board.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 11th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointment to the Senior Citizen Service Fund Board. Not to be confused with a fun board. Any discussions?
I don't know. No boards are fun.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, HUDs will have a committee hearing in the Kennedy Room at 11 a.m. Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee will have a hearing in the Kennedy Room at 3:30 p.m. Friday, December 15th, 2023, full board meeting in the Kennedy Room at 10 a.m. That's the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 6th.
Great, thank you. Just wanted to mention that we had a great town hall in the 6th Ward this past week. A shout out to Adam Pearson of the Department of Human Services for giving some great information to folks about what's happening with the city with that department. We also had someone from Winter Outreach as well as someone from Isaiah 58, and we collected donations for both those organizations. We have one final event for the 6th Ward this Thursday, December 14th. It's going to be at the Royale. I mentioned it last. We're going to have coquito, which is a traditional Puerto Rican holiday drink. So come join us. We'll have a holiday social from 6 to 9 p.m. And then January 20th, Alderman Cohn and I are co-hosting a town hall from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. In Dutchtown at Habitat for Humanity. So we'll give you more details, but that's what's going on. So thank you.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the committee. I want to give a reminder for my office hours for this month, December 18th, 9:30 to 11 at Rooster, 5 to 6:30 p.m. at Sippy, so morning and evening set. Also, we have a 7th Ward Town Hall on January 17th. We're going to actually collect back to school supplies. A lot of our kids in our city, their school year starts over in the second semester, and so a lot of time they're running low on school supplies. So I know the drives are usually popular in August, but we're going to do this again in January. And I also am so excited to announce that the sales development and, we're doing a project, hopefully pending board approval, in Benton Park West for a 49-unit senior income building that will have units, 1 bedrooms for $600, 2 bedrooms for $705. And we got the LIHTC funds, and so I'm so excited that that is going to happen, of course, pending our vote and our approval. And also just thank Alderman Gunther and DeSales and all of the CDA, all the folks that have helped to get us funds to get this project off the ground. I am so excited about it. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Again, just want to remind everybody, myself and State Representative Kim Collins is doing a Christmas giveaway. It will be December 23rd at the O'Fallon Rec Center. We're still taking names if families in the 14th and 77th District would like to be receiving gifts. We will be giving out toys. We'll have food. We'll have raffles, toiletry. If you'd like to sign up, you can email kimberlyann.collins@house.mo.gov. And then I also want to remind the board that next Friday, our last meeting, our legislative assistants and President Green will be having a holiday party in the legislative cave office from 1 to 4 p.m. Our legislative aides have been working hard since they came on and really appreciate putting this on and having some holiday festivities. So that will again be next Friday, December 15th from 1 to 4 in the Legislative Cave. Thank you.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. Just want to remind everybody that I'm having office hours next week, Wednesday 13th at 12 p.m. That'll be at La Finca Coffee in the Grove. And also wanted to remind everybody that every Saturday this December, there is the Window Walk in the Central West End. It is a great place to go make memories with your families. There's ice carvings, carriage rides, carolers, live music, street performers, pictures with Santa, kettle corn. It's just an amazing holiday time. Go down there, make some memories, and look at all the beautiful displays. Thank you.
Alderman from the 5th. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Tomorrow is December 9th. It'll be Christmas on the Hill, so come to the Hill area. particularly right at the Piazza Emo and St. Ambrose Church from 11 till 4 o'clock. There'll be festivities. I hear Santa Claus might be there. So maybe Alderman from the 14th can wish for a new suit. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you so much, Madam President, members of the board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I thought Alderwoman Key's hand was up before me. I'm not sure if she had an announcement, so I want to make sure we recognize that. But first of all, I want to, before I make my announcement now, thank Alderwoman Sanye from the 7th for that back to school drive around this time of year. As a mother of 5, I do know the importance of re-upping our supplies and how they run up or get lost during the year. So absolutely, that's a great idea. Whoever came up with that to do a school supply now as we go into our third and fourth quarters. And then also I want to announce, first of all, thank you to STLTV and the clerk for making this possible for us to be able to be under appropriate meetings. It's always a blessing. I talked about how our meetings are recorded, right, for the public, and to make sure that they can go back and view if they're not viewing live. So I wanted to note that if you missed the HUD meeting this week, there was an amazing presentation from CDA and RISE, a housing strategy and affordable housing strategy, and presentation that was done that was actually first requested by former Alderman Rhodey when he was chairman of HUD. And so it was really good, a lot of good information. And then this upcoming meeting on the 12th, we'll have a report, our annual report from SLDC, our TIF report. I know you heard a couple of bills around TIF introduced today. And I know that TIF as a whole get a lot of attention right here in the city of St. Louis. So this would be a good time again for you to engage and see this Tuesday's HUD meeting at 11 a.m. have the annual TIF report. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 11th, is your hand raised?
Alderman from the 14th actually announced the Christmas event in the 11th Ward at the O'Fallon Rec Center. So it's already out there. So thank you so much, Alderman from the 14th, for making that announcement.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is very quick. I just want to make sure that I wish a happy Hanukkah to all of the Jewish folks in our community who are practicing that. I know that is the second day today and candle lightings, and just want to make sure I say a happy Hanukkah to all those who celebrate.
Any other further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
I like to move to excuse the alderwoman from the 12th, Tyus, as well as the alderman from the 2nd, Oldenburg.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 14th, seconded by the alderwoman from the 7th, that we excuse the alder people from the 12th and the 2nd for necessary absence. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to adjourn.
It's been
Until Friday, December 15th, 2023. It will be the last board meeting. We'll be on break. Excuse me, Alderman. Slow down. So I move that we adjourn to Friday, December 15th, 2023.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 14th, seconded by the alderwoman from the 7th. Let's not have a brawl here over who did the second. That we adjourn until December 15th, 2023. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.